One.
Our topic is Traditions in Education by Kaylee, me, and Ann Extrican. Our thesis was, in the past 50 years, the tradition of education, grades 6 through 12, has changed in regards to special education, curriculum, and the student-teacher focus to better the classroom experience for students. We decided to go with this thesis and change just with wording and our specific topics.
So the first experts that we used, really the only real expert that we had respond to us, was Erin Wagner. She has a bachelor's at the University of Kentucky, a master's at NKU. She has her rank 1 in teaching, and she's been an educator for over 20 years. She is currently teaching at Highlands High School, and she teaches the Family and Consumer Science class, and she is the administrator for FCCLA. Then we had to switch over to sources, and the first source author that we used was Sherping Lim. He is the chair professor of learning technologies and innovation. He is the associate dean at the Education University of Hong Kong and the editor-in-chief of the Internet and Higher Education.
And our third source was Patrice Adirola. She was an associate professor at the Education Policy and Evaluation in the Department of Educational Leadership. She was a member of the AEFP since 1999 and has served on that board since. She is a recipient of the Jean Flanagan Outstanding Decoration Award of 2003. And then our last source is the Kentucky Department of Education, an agency within the Kentucky government to regulate education standards within our state.
And then for our questions, we have our expert responses from Ms. Wagner. Our first question was, over the last quarter's research, we've developed this thesis. In the past 50 years, the tradition of education, grades 6 through 12, has improved special education, enhanced curriculum, and shifted student-teacher focus to become more directed and consequently bettering the classroom experience for students. Based on your experience in the field, do you agree or disagree with this thesis and why? And her response was, I agree with your thesis. The three main areas have changed in the past 50 years and for the better. Our second question was, have you seen change in the tradition of education through your experience in the field? If so, how? And her response was, the tradition of education has primarily stayed the same, to educate students. The way in which we do that has changed. Our third question was, has technology affected education in your experience? Have new traditions been developed through technology? And her response was, they sometimes rely too much on the technology and we sometimes have to change approaches in the classroom to handle attention issues.
Our fourth question that we asked was, would you recommend AP classes for high school students and why? Her response was, I think the rigor of taking AP classes is important to challenge students, but she does not think that students should sacrifice personal needs classes in order to take AP classes. Our fifth question was, do you believe that teacher lectures are beneficial to students? Why or why not? Her response was, yes, all methods of teaching are important. Sometimes students need to sit and listen and take notes. Other times they need to be working in groups and collaborating, completing labs, etc. Our final question, do you see a difference in post-high school plans between students who take AP courses and those who take regular level courses? Her response, I think more AP courses a student takes, the likelihood of them attending and completing college may be higher, but I don't think that students that do not take any or many AP classes do not go to college. Now we're shifting to our additional source summaries. The first one that I used for my special education topic was the Collaborative Teaching Practices for Exceptional Children question and answer document. This is a question and answer document provided by the Kentucky Department of Education. A little summary of it, that it provides guidance on implementation and documentation of collaborative teaching, co-teaching practices for students with disabilities in Kentucky. And then
for a source that I was going to use for my topic is the Determinants of High School's Advanced Course Offerings. This source contained information regarding the changing and evolving curriculum. It specifically focused on the ever-growing prevalence and push for AP courses. And this source shows the change in school's curriculum over time, specifically in the classes that are offered in the different rigor paths.
So now on to our individual projects. I decided to focus more on technology because I think there's more articles to prove whether or not it has a positive or negative effect in the classroom, and it really interests me to really look into that, considering that we use technology every single day at Highlands.
And then the topic that I wanted to focus on was how has curriculum rigor increased with the addition of AP courses, and how has this affected students, because at our school especially, they are really prevalent, and see if that benefits us negatively, and also compare that to schools who don't have those course offerings.
I have decided to focus on how has special education evolved to improve the learning experience for students with disabilities. I think a large topic that I'm going to focus on is the integration of the special education department into just the regular students in the regular classes that we all take, because I feel like in years prior and decades prior, it's been very isolated and not really had a lot of attention come to it, and I feel like since then there's made a lot of improvements and a lot of way to really benefit these students.
And our revised thesis is, in the past 50 years, the tradition of education grades 6 through 12 has changed in regards to special education, curriculum, and the utilization of technology to better the student classroom experience. And you can see how we've changed that versus our first thesis, and we've just changed a few wording and also the topics.
Yeah, and I do want to really exaggerate that we switched over to technology because of the
Yes.
relevance of it. Our prior one was the student to teacher focus, but we felt like that has necessarily not stayed the same, but it has kind of stayed consistent. There has been a more direct student to teacher focus, but technology
It's
with
more,
its just importance today is
more prevalent.
more prevalent and more, like Kaylee said, more interesting to talk
Yeah,
about.
exactly. And this is our works cited page. Thank you.